Hello, my name is Julie Dolan. I am a student currently enrolled in Kinesiology 110, and today I'm going to be explaining if stretching before exercise can prevent injuries. Many people do believe that stretching before exercise reduces injury risk, particularly muscle strains and joint injuries. This is loosely based on the idea that increasing muscle length and flexibility before physical activity reduces the likelihood of overstretching during exercise. But newer scientific evidence does not exactly support this claim because they have found no significant reduction in injury risk from pre-existing stretching alone. However, schools, coaches, and athletes all emphasize stretching as an injury prevention method. They do this by routinely incorporating static stretching into warm-ups. It was passed down to coaches and trainers before that stretching before an activity is necessary, and they continue to pass down this advice despite this new research that proves otherwise. It is also still a key component in physical education programs, team warm-ups, and individual fitness routines. But neuromuscular training and dynamic warm-ups are more effective at preventing injuries than stretching. Many people still believe that stretching can prevent injuries since it is based on tradition rather than scientific proof. Pre-exercise statistic stretching is cultural and habitual, since it has been passed down from so many generations. Studies do show that while stretching improves flexibility, it does not significantly reduce the risk of common sports injuries, such as ACL tears, ankle sprains, or hamstring strains. Instead of stretching before exercise, it is recommended to do dynamic warm-ups, strength training, and neuromuscular exercises as better alternatives for injury prevention, which I will explain later on. I do disagree with this claim that stretching before exercise can prevent injuries. I do not think injuries can be avoided due to solely stretching alone, and here's why. First, I will explain the different types of stretching. Static stretching is holding a stretch for a prolonged period, which is the most common stretching before exercise that people tend to do. This involves holding a position for 15 to 60 seconds without movement. It's commonly used to increase flexibility and reduce muscle tension, making it a more beneficial post-exercise rather than before. According to research, static stretching before exercise may reduce muscle power, strength, and performance, particularly in explosive movements, which would dampen the exercise. Next, we have dynamic stretching, which is active movements that stretch muscles. This includes controlled repetitive movements that take joints and muscles through their full range of motion. People do this because it increases blood flow, muscle temperature, and neuromuscular activation, making it the preferred method for warm-ups. This can include leg swings, arm circles, and walking lunges. Third, we have ballistic stretching, which is bouncing movements to push beyond normal range. This includes using fast bouncing or jerking movements to extend the muscle length beyond its usual limit. This can increase the risk of injury if performed improperly, since it places excessive strain on muscles and tendons. It is recommended for only advanced athletes in sports requiring explosive flexibility, such as gymnastics or martial arts. Finally, we have PNF, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, which includes combining passive stretching with muscle activation. This involves a contract-relax cycle where a muscle is stretched, contracted against resistance, and then stretched further. This is to improve flexibility and muscle function more effectively than static stretching alone, and it is often used in rehabilitation and flexibility training rather than for warm-ups. So, which type of stretching is best for warm-ups? The best stretching for warm-ups is dynamic stretching, since it enhances mobility, blood flow, and neuromuscular activation without reducing muscle power. Static stretching should be limited before activity and used mainly after workouts to improve flexibility and aid recovery. Ballistic stretching is not recommended for most athletes due to the increased risk of injury unless used under supervision in specialized sports. P&F stretching can enhance flexibility but is not commonly used for warm-ups due to its requirement for external resistance and longer duration. So, what is the truth and science behind stretching and injury prevention? According to the Newcastle Sports Medicine article and studies, there was no significant difference in injury rates between those who stretched and those who didn't stretch found. This data reviewed from 26,000 people and found that stretching had little impact on injury prevention. Research on connective tissue shows that stretching mainly affects muscle fibers, while mainly common injuries occur in non-muscular connective tissues that do not benefit from increased flexibility. Studies on mechanotransduction suggest that fibroblasts respond to sustained stretching by slowly remodeling their structure, which does not provide immediate injury prevention benefits. Short-term static stretching does not significantly alter tissue properties enough to reduce injury risk, as connective tissue tension adjusts over a longer period. Strength training and neuromuscular exercises are more effective for preventing injuries than pre-exercise stretching, as they actively improve movement control and muscle response. So what is it exactly that makes stretching not prevent injuries? Because most